Hello, and a very warm welcome to you.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, you listening to us right now. Come on in, get comfortable. Thank you so much for joining us for another deep dive.
It's great to have you here.
Today, we're going on a journey that feels, well, a little different from our usual explorations.
Definitely a shift in tone for us.
It really is. It's incredibly colorful, it's full of joy, and it explores one of the most significant celebrations on the entire planet. But we're taking this journey with a very specific mission in mind today.
Right.
We're exploring the traditions of the Lunar New Year, also known as the Spring Festival, and we're doing it by looking at materials specifically created for beginner English learners.
I am so glad we're taking this approach today. I really am. The material we've gathered provides a breakdown of the customs, the traditional foods, the visuals, and the core vocabulary of the Lunar New Year.
Yeah.
But what I really appreciate about looking at this through the lens of a beginner's guide is that it strips away all the complicated jargon.
It really does. It simplifies it.
Exactly. It forces us to look at the absolute foundation of why humans celebrate. Because learning a language or understanding a culture isn't about memorizing long lists of complicated words.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding the simple, universal human themes underneath those words. Themes like hope, finding peace, and the desire for a fresh start.
That is exactly why I'm so excited about this, and because our mission today is to treat this as a masterclass that's accessible to everyone, including those of you who are currently learning English. I want to make a quick promise to you right at the top of the show.
A very important promise.
Yes. We are going to keep our pace very deliberate today.
Right.
Our speech speed will not be too fast. We're going to make sure that our conversation is clear, relaxed, and easy to follow.
Yeah, we want to savor these concepts.
Exactly, without making anyone feel overwhelmed or rushed.
I think that's a wonderful rule for us today. You know, when we rush through information, we often miss the feeling behind it.
We definitely do.
When we slow down, we give our minds the time to actually process what we're hearing. Our source material today is modeled after an English tea break, and I just love that framing.
An English tea break, yeah.
We want this deep dive to feel exactly like that. A relaxing break, a moment to pause, maybe grab a warm cup of tea or coffee, and just absorb something beautiful.
Okay, let's unpack this. If you are settled in and ready, let's step into the incredibly bright, loud, and joyful world of the Lunar New Year.
Let's do it.
To truly understand this festival, we have to start at the very beginning. We need to look up at the sky.
The best place to start.
So let's talk about the moon and this concept of lunar and spring.
The timing of this festival is fascinating, mainly because it challenges the way a lot of the modern business-focused world thinks about time.
Right.
If you work in an office or follow the standard Gregorian calendar, New Year's Day is always January 1st. It's a fixed, unmoving point.
Always the same day.
Always. But the material we're looking at highlights a completely different approach. This festival does not happen on the same day every year.
Which used to confuse me so much when I was younger. I would always wonder why the date kept moving around in January or February.
A lot of people wonder that.
But the explanation is actually beautiful in its simplicity.
Yeah.
The festival moves because it follows the moon.
Right.
That is why we use the word lunar. Lunar simply means relating to the moon.
Exactly.
So instead of following a printed grid on a wall, the timing of this massive global celebration is dictated by the cycles of the moon in the night sky.
There is a really profound philosophical difference there.
Yeah.
Think about how rigid a fixed calendar feels.
It's very mechanical.
Highly mechanical. You wake up, it's January 1st, it's a new year, regardless of what the weather is doing or what the sky looks like.
Right.
But when your major holiday moves in rhythm with the lunar cycle, you are forced to remain connected to the natural world.
You have to pay attention.
You have to literally look at the natural cycles of the Earth and the moon to know when it's time to celebrate.
I wonder, though, does that create a sense of chaos? Having a holiday that jumps around by a few weeks every year seems like it would be hard to plan for. Or does that unpredictability actually make it feel more special?
That's a fascinating question. I don't think it creates chaos at all. I think it creates anticipation.
Anticipation, okay.
Yeah, when something is perfectly predictable, we often take it for granted. But when the date shifts, it requires attention. It requires you to be present and aware of the changing season.
That makes sense.
And that brings us to the other name for this holiday, which I think is even more descriptive than Lunar New Year.
You mean this spring festival?
Exactly, the Spring Festival. The beginner's guide we're referencing explains this in such a pure, poetic way.
It really does.
It says that the festival marks the start of spring, and it defines that moment with a very simple image. It's the time when the flowers grow and the new year begins. Everything's new.
The flowers grow, and the year begins. I love that we were taking this slow today because I want to just pause on that image for a second.
It's worth pausing for.
As an adult who is used to complicated explanations, hearing a new year described simply as the time when the flowers grow, it's really striking. It connects a human party with the physical world waking up.
And think about the psychological impact of that connection. If we look at how human beings process change, timing really matters.
Timing is everything.
Celebrating a new year in the dead of winter when everything is cold, dark, and dormant can feel a bit abstract. You're trying to mentally conjure up a fresh start while the world outside looks dead.
Yeah, you're just writing a different year on your checks, but nothing else has changed.
Exactly. But tying your new year to the exact arrival of spring, that is brilliant psychological design.
Because the fresh start is literally happening right in front of your eyes. You can walk outside and see a green leaf pushing through the dirt.
Precisely. Spring is universally recognized as the season of rebirth. The earth is warming up, nature is starting over. When you celebrate the new year at the very moment that the flowers begin to grow, the concept of a fresh start isn't just an idea in your head anymore.
It's physical.
It's a visible, biological reality happening all around you. You are mirroring nature.
That makes the feeling of starting over so much more tangible. I want to ask you, the listener, to take a moment and think about that. How do your own celebrations feel?
It's a great reflection.
When you celebrate a new year, does it feel like it aligns with the weather or the natural world around you? Or is it just turning a page on a calendar while the view out your window stays exactly the same?
There's a big difference.
There's something incredibly grounding about letting nature tell you when it is time to start fresh.
It is grounding, yes, but while the timing is dictated by the quiet, natural cycles of the moon and the growing flowers, the actual human celebration is anything but quiet.
Oh, definitely not quiet.
Once that lunar signal is given, the natural world is completely overtaken by a very deliberate, very loud human transformation.
Absolutely.
Wow.
The subtle green of the spring flowers is immediately replaced by an explosion of a very different color. Which brings us to the visual heart of the festival. Seeing red. We're talking about the color of luck and the color of protection.
If you ask anyone to close their eyes and picture the Lunar New Year, the first thing that comes to mind isn't a moon or a flower.
No, it's red.
It's the color red. Our source material makes this incredibly clear. It points out that during this time, red is absolutely everywhere.
It really is a total saturation of the environment. The materials we're studying paint a very specific picture. They talk about red paper, red lanterns, and red clothes.
Let's visualize that for a second.
Yeah, we aren't just talking about a few red balloons tied to a chair.
Yeah.
We're talking about delicate red paper pasted onto the doors and windows of every home. We're talking about glowing red lanterns strung across city streets, changing the very color of the light.
Right.
And we're talking about crowds of people physically wearing red garments.
It completely changes the physical landscape of a city or a village. But what we need to explore here is the why. Why this specific color? Why not gold or green or blue?
Right, why red?
The simple English guide we're using provides a very direct answer that actually holds a lot of cultural weight. It states that in this culture, red means luck.
Luck. Let's spell that out for our beginners today. L-U-C-K, luck. That is such a huge concept, packed into a tiny four-letter word.
It really is.
The guide defines luck simply as good things happen to you. I know that sounds like a very basic definition meant for a language learner, but honestly, isn't that the perfect summary of what we are all hoping for?
It absolutely is.
We just want good things to happen to us.
It's the universal human desire.
Yeah.
But here's where we need to dig a little deeper into the cultural mindset. In many Western cultures, luck is often seen as random.
Right, like an accident.
Exactly, an accident. You find a lucky penny on the ground or you happen to win a lottery. It's out of your control. But the way this festival uses the color red suggests something entirely different. The material notes that people believe the color red brings good luck.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It treats luck almost like a physical element that you can attract.
That's the key. It makes the color red an active tool. It isn't just a decoration to make the room look pretty. It acts as a magnet.
A magnet for good things.
Yes. By surrounding yourself with red paper and red clothing, you are intentionally trying to pull that positive energy, those good things, into your life. But the color red actually has a dual purpose.
Right.
It's a magnet for the good, but it is also a shield against the bad.
The material mentions that red scares away bad things. I always found that phrasing so interesting, scares away. It implies that bad luck or misfortune or whatever negative energy is out there is almost like an entity that can be frightened.
That goes back to the very ancient roots of the festival. There are legends of a mythical beast that was terrified of the color red and loud noises.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And while modern people might not literally believe in the monster anymore, the psychology remains. Red is a protective barrier. It repels sadness, danger, and misfortune.
But let me play devil's advocate for a moment here.
Please do.
In our modern, rational world, do people actually believe that hanging a red paper lantern is going to magically protect their house from bad things? Or is it just an old habit?
That's a very fair question. I think for most people today, it's less about literal magic and more about collective psychology.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Think about how your environment affects your mood. If you walk into a hospital waiting room with gray walls and fluorescent lights, you feel anxious.
Definitely.
But imagine an entire city deliberately deciding to paint their world bright red for 2 weeks.
Okay, I could see that. It would completely shift the energy.
Yeah, absolutely. When every storefront, every home, and every person around you is displaying a color that universally represents happiness and protection, it alters the emotional state of the whole community.
It's contagious.
It is contagious. You're walking through a shared atmosphere of joy. You're stepping out of the ordinary, sometimes stressful routine of daily life and immersing yourself in positivity.
Right.
The guide we are reading concludes this point by simply saying it is a very happy color. And when everyone agrees that a color means happiness, it actually produces happiness.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of joy. If we all agree that wearing red means we are having a good time, then we are going to have a good time.
Exactly.
I think that's a wonderful concept to think about. How often do we intentionally change our surroundings to reflect the emotions we want to feel? During the Spring Festival, they literally redesign their world to manufacture happiness.
They do, but as visually stunning as all of those red lanterns and red decorations are, they are really just the stage design.
Just the background.
Right, they're the background setting for the real core of the festival. All of this preparation, all of this color is building up to the most important element of the Lunar New Year.
Which brings us out of the streets and into the home. We need to talk about the ultimate priority of this festival, the family reunion, the pursuit of prosperity, and a dinner table full of what I like to call edible symbolism.
Our source material is incredibly direct about this hierarchy of importance. It doesn't say the dragon dances are the most important or the red clothes.
No.
It states plainly, the most important thing is family.
Family first. And the way this is expressed during the Lunar New Year is through a massive, coordinated movement of people. The guide introduces a vital word here, reunion, R-E-U-N-I-O-N, reunion. It explains that everyone travels home for a reunion.
Let's really look at that concept of a reunion. The simple definition provided is when people meet again after a long time.
Right.
But the reality of what that means during the Spring Festival is staggering. We are talking about hundreds of millions of people engaging in the largest annual human migration on the planet.
It's hard to even picture that many people.
People pack into trains, buses, and airplanes traveling incredible distances just to get back to their hometowns.
It's an unbelievable logistical feat. And why do they do it? Why go through all the stress of crowded train stations and long travel hours?
Because the pull of the reunion is stronger than the inconvenience of the travel. It's a time when the pause button is firmly pressed on the chaos of modern life.
Everything just stops.
Everything stops. Your job, your individual pursuits, your daily stress, all of that is put on hold. The absolute undeniable priority becomes sitting in the same room with your parents, your grandparents, your siblings after being apart for a long time.
It's a physical reaffirmation of your roots.
Precisely.
And when everyone finally arrives, when the travel is done and the family is gathered in that room surrounded by red decorations, what is the central event? They eat. The entire celebration anchors around a very big dinner.
But we have to be clear here, this is not just a regular big dinner. It's not just about eating until you're full. The menu is carefully curated, and almost every dish serves a specific symbolic purpose. You used the phrase edible symbolism earlier, and that is exactly what is happening here.
Yes, I find this part so fascinating. Our beginner's guide highlights 2 specific foods that are eaten at this big dinner and explains exactly why they are on the table. The first one is fish. The guide says they eat fish for prosperity.
Prosperity is a fantastic concept to unpack. The guide breaks down this big word with a very clear definition. Prosperity means having a lot of good things, like money or success.
But wait, why fish? How does a fish equal having money or success?
This is where language and culture intersect beautifully. In Mandarin Chinese, the word for fish sounds exactly the same as the word for surplus or abundance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a homophone. So when you place a whole fish on the dinner table, you are creating a visual and verbal pun. You are literally bringing abundance to the table.
Oh, that is brilliant. So eating the fish is a way of saying, we hope we have a surplus of good things this year. We hope we have more than we need.
Precisely. You are eating your hopes for the future. And this brings us to the second food highlighted in the material, dumplings.
Ah, dumplings.
The text notes that people eat dumplings because they look like gold.
I love the visual of that. Imagine a massive platter in the center of the table, piled high with steaming dumplings. Because of the way traditional Chinese dumplings are folded, they're shaped like ancient silver or gold ingots, the old currency used in China.
So again, you are looking at edible wealth. You are drawing a direct physical line between the shape of the food you are putting into your body and your deepest desires for financial security and success in the coming year.
I really want to pause and appreciate the psychology of this.
Yeah.
It's one thing to sit around a table and say, I hope we all make a lot of money this year.
That's just wishing.
Right, that is just wishing. But it is entirely different to take a physical object that represents gold, hold it in your hands, and consume it.
It makes the abstract concept of wealth incredibly tangible. You are internalizing the goal. You are physically digesting your hopes for prosperity, and you're doing it in a shared ritual with the people you care about most.
It's very powerful.
It transforms a simple family meal into a powerful collective setting of intentions for the new year.
It's so intentional. Every single bite has meaning. But the exchange of hopes and wealth doesn't stop when the dinner's over.
No, it doesn't.
In fact, right after the plates are cleared, another deeply cherished tradition takes place. And this involves a very specific interaction between the different generations sitting at that table.
Yes, this transitions us perfectly into the concept of the generational gift. We need to talk about the famous red envelopes and the importance of fresh starts.
According to the material we're studying, after the big dinner, older people give children red envelopes. In Chinese, these are called hongbao. And inside this red paper envelope is cash. Actual money.
I think we can all imagine the atmosphere in the room when this happens.
Oh, the text simply says, children are very happy during this time. And I mean, of course they are.
Who wouldn't be?
Think about the pure thrill of being a kid in that moment. You've just had a massive feast, the house is glowing with red lanterns, and then your grandparents and aunts and uncles start handing you bright red envelopes filled with money. It must feel like the best day of the year.
It undoubtedly is for the children. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, if we look at this from a slightly older perspective, we realize it's about so much more than just giving kids pocket money to buy toys.
Right.
The beginner's guide we're referencing does a beautiful job of translating the emotional meaning behind the envelope. It states that giving the red envelope is a way to say two specific things. I love you, and I wish you a lucky year.
Let's really think about those two phrases. I love you, and I wish you a lucky year. The money inside the envelope is highly practical, yes. It provides financial support.
Yes.
But the red envelope itself, remembering that red is the color of luck and protection, acts as a vehicle for emotion and blessing.
It is a tangible transfer of resources and goodwill. You have the older, established generation, the elders who have worked hard and built a life, physically handing down their wealth, their love, and their protection to the younger, growing generation.
Wow.
It is the family structure actively supporting its own future. The elders are giving the youth the tools they need to prosper in the new year.
It creates such a beautiful cycle of care. The young receive the blessings of the old. But I'm curious, does this exchange only go one way? Is it only old to young?
Traditionally, yes, the main flow is from elders to unmarried youth or children. However, once a younger person grows up, gets married, and starts earning a solid income, the flow can reverse.
Really?
Yeah, adult children will often give red envelopes to their aging parents as a sign of respect and a wish for their continued health and longevity. So it truly is a cycle that binds the generations together.
That adds such a layer of respect to the whole tradition. And this theme of care and renewal for the youth is emphasized by one more visual detail that happens during this time. Yes, the clothes. The text notes that alongside receiving the red envelopes, the children also wear new clothes to start the year fresh.
The psychology of wearing new clothes is fascinating, especially when we connect it back to the natural imagery we discussed at the very beginning of our deep dive.
Right, the spring festival, the earth waking up, the new flowers growing out of the old dirt.
Exactly. The natural world is getting a fresh start. And by putting on brand new clothes, the human beings are mirroring that exact same process.
There really is a specific feeling when you put on a piece of clothing that has never been worn before. It feels crisp. It feels clean.
It feels like a blank slate. The clothes you wore last year carry the history of that year. They carry the dirt, the stress, the struggles, and the bad days.
You don't want to bring that into the new year.
No, you don't. When you take those old clothes off and put on entirely new garments, you are physically shedding the past. You are leaving the old year behind. By wearing new clothes, you are embodying the concept of the new year. You are stepping into the new season clean, prepared, and entirely open to the new luck and prosperity that the red envelopes and the red lanterns are meant to bring.
It is a complete reset for the mind and the body. I want to turn to you, our listener, for a second. Think about the younger people in your own life, maybe your children, your nieces, nephews, or even younger colleagues you mentor. How do you explicitly wish them luck?
That's a great question to reflect on.
We might not all use bright red envelopes filled with cash, but what are the ways you pass hope and resources down to the next generation? Because that desire to see the youth succeed and have a lucky year is a universally human feeling. The red envelope is just one of the most elegant and visually striking ways a culture has devised to express it.
It is a very elegant tradition, and I think it's at this point in our exploration that we should take a moment to pause and really focus on the English language itself.
Yes, let's do that.
The simple, beginner-focused guide we are using takes a very deliberate moment to just look at the words we use to describe these events.
I think this is a perfect time for us to do the same. We're going to go on a quick word tour. Even if you are a native English speaker, looking at the simplest definitions of words we use all the time can reveal a lot about how we think.
It really can.
The guide highlights 5 specific words that are central to this celebration, and we're going to explore the profound simplicity of how they are defined.
The first word on this tour is festival. We use this word constantly, but the guide defines it simply as a special day for celebration.
A special day. What stands out to me there is the word special. It isn't just a regular Tuesday. It is a day that has been intentionally marked off, whether by the moon or by a calendar, as being fundamentally different from the rest of the year.
Why do you think we need to mark days as special in the first place?
Well, if I had to guess, I'd say it is because human beings get easily exhausted by routine. If every single day is exactly the same, wake up, work, eat, sleep time just blurs together into a gray mush. A festival acts like a punctuation mark in the sentence of a year. It forces us to stop, look up, and do something different.
I completely agree. It elevates a specific 24 hours above the ordinary routine. Now, the second word on our tour is one we have touched on indirectly, but the guide defines it explicitly. Tradition.
Tradition.
The definition provided here is incredibly nuanced for such a simple text. It defines tradition as something families do every year for a long time.
I really want to unpack that because it differentiates a tradition from just a habit. A habit is something you do every day, like brushing your teeth. But a tradition has 2 key elements according to this definition. Repetition, meaning every year, and history, meaning for a long time.
And it also includes community, specifically families. A tradition isn't something you do in isolation. When a family sits down to eat dumplings that look like ancient gold, they are participating in a tradition because they are connecting themselves to an action that their parents did and their grandparents did, stretching far back into the past.
It anchors the family in time. It gives you a sense of belonging to something much larger than just yourself or the present moment. You are a link in a very long chain.
Beautifully said. The third word describes the primary action of the festival itself: celebrate. The guide provides a wonderfully joyous definition for this. It says to celebrate is to have fun on a special day.
To have fun. You know, sometimes when we talk about ancient traditions or deep cultural practices, we make them sound so incredibly serious and rigid. We treat them like fragile museum pieces.
We do tend to overcomplicate it.
Right. But the core definition here reminds us that the ultimate goal of all the red paper, the loud noises, and the massive dinners is simply joy. The goal is to have fun.
If a tradition isn't bringing joy or meaning, it usually doesn't survive for thousands of years. The fun is the fuel that keeps the tradition alive.
That's a great way to put it.
The fourth word on our tour is the one we analyzed deeply regarding the fish, but it is worth revisiting: prosperity. The text defines this as being successful and happy.
I love the dual nature of that definition. Successful and happy. It really challenges the modern idea that prosperity is only about the number in your bank account.
Exactly. You can have a tremendous amount of money in your red envelope, but if you lack joy or if you are entirely isolated from your family, you are not experiencing true prosperity according to this definition. True prosperity requires the combination of material success and internal happiness.
It is a holistic view of a good life. And finally, the fifth word on our tour is an adjective used to describe that massive reunion dinner. Delicious. The guide defines this as when food tastes very, very good.
Very, very good. Not just okay, not just acceptable calories to keep you moving, but an experience of exceptional taste that brings pleasure.
So what does this all mean? If we take these 5 profound, simple definitions and weave them together, what story do they tell? We can picture a scene where families celebrate a lunar festival by honoring an ancient tradition of eating absolutely delicious food with the hope that it will bring them deep prosperity.
That is the essence of the Lunar New Year, captured in just 5 concepts. It's an incredible display of how simple language can describe complex human emotions and societal structures.
It really is. And now that we have explored the intimate, family-focused aspects of the holiday inside the home, it's time to change our environment again. We're going to take these concepts and step out the front door.
Out into the world.
Yes, we are leaving the quiet dining room and stepping into the vibrant, chaotic, and completely thrilling public city streets. Because our material concludes with an incredible sensory scene that leads to a profound piece of philosophy.
This brings us to the final major section of our exploration, the sensory street scene and the philosophy of mistakes. The guide we are reading asks the learner to actively use their imagination. It says, imagine you are in a street in a big city during Lunar New Year.
Let's build that physical scene right now in our minds, using the sensory details provided. First, we engage the ears. The text notes that you hear loud noises. Specifically, it spells out the sound. Bang, bang, bang.
Those are the firecrackers. Small gunpowder explosives wrapped tightly in red paper. When they are lit, they create a massive, sharp, deafening noise.
Now, earlier we talked about how the color red is used to scare away bad things. Do these loud explosions serve the same purpose? Because, to be honest, a string of firecrackers going off next to you is genuinely startling.
Yes, they serve the exact same protective function as the color red. They are auditory shields. The idea is that the loud bang, bang, bang is so aggressive and powerful that it will frighten away any lingering negativity, bad spirits, or bad luck from the old year.
You're literally blasting away the old to make room for the new.
Exactly. So the auditory landscape is loud, energetic, and protective. Next, we engage the eyes. The guide says, you see a big dragon dancing in the street. It is red and gold.
Imagine a massive, beautifully crafted dragon puppet. It's held up by poles carried by a highly coordinated team of dancers. It weaves, dips, and undulates through the crowded street, chasing a sphere that represents a pearl of wisdom.
And it is specifically red and gold. Red for luck and protection, gold for the prosperity we discussed earlier. It is moving, it is alive, and it commands the attention of the entire street.
Then we engage the nose. The text says, you smell delicious food. From the street vendors selling snacks to the open windows of nearby apartments where the reunion dinners are still happening, the scent of the cooking is wafting through the cold spring air.
And finally, we look at the people around us in this imaginary scene. The text says, people are smiling. They say, Happy New Year.
It is a complete sensory overload. But notice the emotional tone. Despite the chaotic noise of the firecrackers and the massive dragons weaving through the crowds, the overall feeling is entirely positive.
Very positive.
And the guide distills all of this sensory chaos into 2 quiet, powerful, abstract nouns. It says, it is a time for hope. It is a time for peace.
Hope and peace. That almost seems contradictory to the loud bang, bang, bang. But it makes sense when you realize the noise is doing the protective work, allowing the people inside the community to feel secure enough to be peaceful and hopeful.
Exactly. The external noise guards the internal peace. And it is right here, at the very end of this beginner's guide, that the material makes a truly unexpected, highly personal philosophical pivot.
It's a wonderful turn.
It takes this massive cultural festival involving hundreds of millions of people and connects its core meaning directly to the daily, individual journey of a language learner.
This is perhaps the most insightful part of the entire document. The guide speaks directly to the reader and says, if you are learning English, remember, every day is a new start, just like the new year.
Let's really analyze the brilliance of that connection. We just spent all this time talking about how the Lunar New Year is about starting fresh, shedding the old clothes, watching the spring flowers grow, blasting away the bad luck of the past year with firecrackers. The guide is telling the learner to adopt that exact same mindset every single morning.
I think anyone who has ever tried to learn a new language or master a difficult new skill knows how frustrating the process can be. You stumble over pronunciations, you forget vocabulary, you feel foolish. It is so easy to carry the frustration of yesterday into today.
It really is.
But the guide is saying don't do that. When you wake up, you have a blank slate. Yesterday's struggles are in the past. Just as the new year washes away the old year, every single morning you wake up is a new start for your learning journey.
And then it delivers the ultimate piece of encouragement. It says, don't be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes help you grow.
Think about how fitting it is that a festival deeply concerned with scaring away bad things is used as a metaphor to encourage learners to stop being afraid of making errors. In language learning, making a mistake often feels like a bad thing. It feels embarrassing.
It makes you want to hide or stop speaking entirely.
Right. But the guide recontextualizes the mistake. It uses the exact same verb it used earlier to describe the spring flowers. It says mistakes help you grow. A mistake is not bad luck. A mistake is not a failure. A mistake is the very soil in which your new skills take root and blossom.
Mistakes help you grow. I want to speak directly to you, the listener, right now. Whether you are currently studying English or trying to learn a new software program at work or picking up a musical instrument, learning is an inherently messy process. You are going to stumble. You're going to use the wrong word. You are going to sound a little silly sometimes.
That's just part of it.
That is not a failure. That is the required process. Validate your own effort. The very fact that you are sitting here listening to us explore these ideas means you are doing the work.
Do not let the fear of sounding imperfect silence you.
Exactly. Treat every single day of your learning journey like your own personal spring festival. Wake up, put on your metaphorical new clothes, maybe light a metaphorical firecracker to scare away your self-doubt and anxiety, and allow yourself to make the mistakes that will help you grow.
It is an incredibly empowering message to extract from a simple text about a holiday celebration. It takes the grand, ancient cultural traditions and makes them immediately practically useful for the listener's daily life.
It really does. And as we begin to draw this deep dive to a close, let's take a moment to look back at the ground we have covered today. We have traveled through an entire season of cultural philosophy, guided by the clarity of a beginner's perspective.
We began by looking up at the sky, realizing that the Lunar New Year asks us to follow the shifting cycles of the moon, keeping us connected to the natural rhythms of the earth. We learned that tying the new year to the start of spring makes the concept of a fresh start physically visible as the flowers begin to grow.
We then immersed ourselves in the protective, joyful power of the color red. We explored how an entire community can use red paper, red lanterns, and red clothes to actively attract luck and collectively scare away negative energy, transforming a city into a landscape of shared happiness.
We moved inside the home, focusing on the massive logistical and emotional effort of the family reunion. We unpacked the edible symbolism of the big dinner, learning how eating fish is a plea for prosperity, and eating dumplings is a way to internalize the hope for golden success.
We witnessed the beautiful generational exchange of the hongbao, the red envelopes. We saw how elders passed down resources and blessings of love and luck to the youth, empowering them to start the year fresh in brand new clothes, leaving the past entirely behind.
We took a deliberate word tour, exploring how profound the simple definitions of festival, traditions, celebrate prosperity, and delicious truly are when we stop taking them for granted.
And finally, we walked down the noisy, vibrant streets. We heard the explosive protection of the firecrackers, watched the red and gold dragon dance, and realized that beneath all the celebratory chaos, the goal is hope and peace. And we took away the beautiful reminder that in learning, as in life, every day is a new start, and mistakes are simply how we grow.
It is a remarkable amount of wisdom packed into the simple words of our source material. But as we reflect on all these vibrant details, the moving calendars, the red shields, the symbolic foods, it raises an important question. The guide we used ends by asking the reader, what is your favorite festival? I want to expand on that prompt and leave our listener with a final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
If we step back and look at humanity as a whole species, why do we need festivals in the first place? Think about it. Almost every culture on Earth, regardless of geography or history, has these designated specific times marked out where we are collectively instructed to pause our normal lives. We are told to wear specific colors, to eat very specific foods shaped like certain things, and to perform specific rituals. What does that say about our universal, deeply ingrained human need to artificially create a fresh start? Are our everyday routines so relentless, so draining, that we require these massive, coordinated societal events just to remind ourselves to hit the reset button? Why is the concept of the blank slate, the new year, the new clothes, the clean start so absolutely vital to human survival and happiness?
That is a brilliant question. Why do we crave the designated pause? Why do we need permission from the calendar or the moon to start over? I encourage you, the listener, to carry that question with you today. Think about it while you go about your day. And honoring the friendly communal spirit of the festival we just explored, I encourage you to share your thoughts on that with a friend. Tell someone what your favorite festival is and why it matters to you.
And if you are learning English, practice some of the ideas we talked about today. Try to find the joy in the process, and remember not to fear the stumbles along the way.
Exactly. Thank you so deeply for joining us on this relaxed, clear, and incredibly colorful exploration today. We hope this deep dive provided you with not just a better understanding of a beautiful culture, but a moment of peace, a spark of hope, and the courage to make glorious mistakes as you continue to grow. Happy learning to you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.